In a back office at MacDonald's in Mount Washington, Kentucky, teenager Louise Ogborn is naked and in tears. Donna Summers, the assistant manager who had strip searched her, has to get back to work. The caller had suggested she bring in her fiancé, Walter Nix, who goes by the name Wes. This 43-year-old exterminator is about to continue the interrogation.
You left this middle-aged man with a naked, frightened...
She was covered.
With an apron.
She was completely covered.
But as the video shows, Louise is tugging at the apron, which barely covers her top, and the sides of her legs are exposed up to her buttocks.
What were you thinking?
I didn't think Wes would do anything. I trusted him.
It's the height of the dinner rush. Donna Summers leaves the 90-pound teenager alone and vulnerable in the office with the 230-pound Nix.
Why couldn't you run out?
I was naked. I was scared. I mean, any normal person in the situation, they wouldn't have ran out.
You're convinced there's no way you could have done it?
There's no way.
Did you think about it?
I wanted to so bad. I wanted to run.
And you would have had to run through the restaurant.
I couldn't have done that. I couldn't have ran out the back door. I couldn't have done anything. I couldn't bring myself to humiliate myself worse than I already was.
Humiliation, as it turns out, would be the least of her worries. Now it's Walter Nix who's following the caller's commands, having Louise drop her apron, bend over, stand on a chair. Then, as ridiculous as it sounds, he tells Louise to jog and do jumping jacks, to shake loose anything, the caller says, that she might be hiding. Incredibly, Nix complies with the caller's outlandish demands, and it's only the beginning of 2 more hours of torment.
Why did you follow their instructions?
My parents taught me when an adult tells you to do something, that's what you do. You don't argue. You know, somebody smacks you on the hand, you listen.
And everyone, it seems, is listening to that voice on the phone. He even talks to Louise.
He told me if I loved this job and if I needed to keep my job, then I would cooperate.
According to Louise, when she fails to address Walter Nix as Sir, the caller tells him to hit her violently on the buttocks, over and over. Here, it goes on for almost 10 minutes.
He told me that I was asking too many questions, so he was told to hit me. And I said, please don't do this. This is so ridiculous. This is stupid. Please don't.
But that would only make him hit you harder.
Yes, and more times.
By the end of the beating, painful red welts appear clearly on Louise's body. And during it all, Donna Summers keeps walking in and out of the office.
Every time you hear her coming in, what happens?
He throws the apron at me and tells me, like, shh, don't tell Donna.
When you walked into the office, what would you see between her and Walter?
She was sitting on one side, he was sitting on the other. They weren't saying a whole lot.
And she was covered.
And she was covered up all the time.
But there's at least one occasion when Summers comes in before Nix throws the apron over Louise. When we try to show Donna Summers the videotape.
You say you didn't see her without her clothes on, but there she is. And you walk
Okay, we're not going to answer questions about
right
that.
past it. She can't talk about this?
Not about that.
Summers' attorney, who's off camera, won't allow her to respond.
Why didn't you tell Donna at that point?
I begged her every time she came in the room, get me out of here. Please get me out of here. Donna, please, please. I didn't do anything wrong. Please believe me.
And she puts her head on your shoulder. And she told us she was saying to you, please help me.
No, she didn't. It's not what she said.
Couldn't you feel her head on your shoulder?
I don't recall that particular incident. I don't.
She says she's begging you to rescue her.
She never said that to me.
And every time Summers walks out of the office, Louise says Nix resumes and intensifies her torture, following the caller's instructions.
My soul just left my body. I just went numb to everything so that I could just survive.
Clinical psychologist Jeff Gardier says Louise's reaction is not uncommon.
It's almost an out-of-body experience. It's like they're standing right next to themselves as this whole thing is happening, and they can't do a thing about it. It's a nightmare where they can't wake up.
After more than 2.5 hours of dehumanizing treatment, Nix, again on the instructions of the caller, forces Louise to perform oral sex on him.
You were a prisoner
I was.
and a victim of sexual assault.
Yes.
Almost 3 hours into Louise's ordeal, the caller tells Nix to hand the phone back to Summers and, incredibly, instructs her to bring in someone else. This time she ushers in Thomas Sims, a 58-year-old maintenance man who works at the restaurant. He gets on the phone with the caller, but Sims refuses to comply with his demands.
Tom told me this man is asking for her to drop her apron so I can see her without that apron. And I said, do what? And it floored me.
Only then, Summers says, does she realize she's been had.
I couldn't believe it. Could not believe it. I had been had like no other person been had.
Soon, the office is crawling with MacDonald's supervisors.
On the video, you see the managers come in, and they seem panicked.
I guess they realized what was so unbelievably wrong.
Only then does someone finally call the police. They arrive within 5 minutes. The Mount Washington police station, it turns out, is only a quarter-mile away from the restaurant.
You know, there's a lot of things in my mind that I think they could have done, and I don't understand why they didn't do them.
Buddy Stump is a detective with the Mount Washington police. He arrests Donna Summers' fiancé, Walter Nix, and he begins to try and find the caller, assuming that he's someone who lives in the area.
I said, this has got to be somebody on a payphone, you know, maybe over to Winn-Dixie, and they're getting their jollies off of watching all the action and the police roll in.
But where the investigation will lead and who it will point to will stun everyone involved in the case.